The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council sparkled with advanced technology. Floating lights danced in the air, and sleek metal panels lined the walls. Today was supposed to be a normal diplomatic meeting, but it turned into something no one expected. The alien delegates sat in their chairs, wearing their best ceremonial armor. Each of them looked like they had stepped out of a perfect future. Their energy shield suits hummed softly, creating beautiful patterns of light that shifted with every movement. Some glowed blue, others purple, but all of them looked expensive and high-tech. "The human delegation will arrive in 2 minutes," announced the Council's eye. Admiral White of the Galactic Defense Force adjusted his perfect energy shield and smiled. "Finally, we get to meet these humans everyone's been talking about. I hear they've managed to build some decent ships." "Indeed," replied Counselor Third, his crystalline armor sparkling. "Though they're quite new to space travel, I expect they'll be properly impressed by our technological achievements." The massive doors slid open with a soft hiss. The aliens straightened in their seats, ready to welcome their new potential allies with proper dignity. Then they saw what the humans were wearing. Ambassador Thomas walked in first, leading the human group. He wore what looked like a mix of everything someone might find in a workshop. His chest piece appeared to be made of layered ceramics, with strange fabric patches stuck between the layers. Metal plates covered his shoulders, but they weren't even the same kind of metal. One looked like steel, the other like aluminum. Plastic components stuck out at odd angles, and what appeared to be rubber tubes ran between different sections. Behind him, the human security team looked even stranger. Their armor seemed to be made of dozens of different materials, all stuck together. Some parts were shiny, others dull. Some pieces looked hard, others soft. Nothing matched, nothing looked elegant, and everything seemed random. The room fell silent. Several alien delegates blinked their various sets of eyes, wondering if this was some kind of joke. "Greetings, Honored Council," Ambassador Thomas said with a warm smile, apparently unaware of the shock he had caused. "We come representing Earth and the human race. We look forward to joining this grand community of spacefaring species." Admiral White couldn't help himself. He stood up, his perfect energy shield creating ripples of light. "Excuse me, Ambassador, but are you wearing actual physical armor? Made of multiple materials?" Thomas looked down at his chest piece and patted it proudly. "Oh, this? Yes, it's our latest design. Very effective. We found that combining different materials in seemingly random patterns gives us the best protection against various types of weapons." The alien delegates started whispering among themselves. Some tried to hide their laughter behind their hands or tentacles. Others looked concerned, as if worried about the human's mental state. Counselor Third leaned forward, his crystalline armor chiming softly. "Ambassador, surely you're aware of energy shield technology. It's standard across the galaxy. Much more elegant than whatever this is." "Oh yes," Thomas replied cheerfully. "We've studied energy shields, found them quite interesting but a bit too predictable for our taste. Our research showed that multiple layers of different materials, each failing in unique ways, actually provide better protection." A young human guard named Bill shifted his weight, making his armor creak and squeak. Several aliens winced at the sound. Their own armor moved in perfect silence, powered by advanced technology. "Would you be interested in seeing our armor technology?" Admiral White offered, trying to be diplomatic. "We could provide you with proper defensive equipment." Ambassador Thomas smiled even wider. "That's very kind. We'd love to share technology. In fact, we've brought some test results that show how our armor performs against various weapons. Would you like to see them?" The aliens exchanged worried looks. They had come expecting to teach these newcomers about advanced technology. Instead, they found themselves facing humans wearing what looked like junk stuck together with glue, and the humans seemed perfectly happy about it. This was going to be a very interesting first contact. The next day, the Galactic Council's testing chamber buzzed with activity. Word had spread quickly about the humans' strange armor, and many alien officials had come to witness what they expected would be an embarrassing demonstration. Admiral White stood at the observation deck, surrounded by other military leaders. His energy shield sparkled perfectly as he watched the humans setting up their equipment. "This should be educational," he said, trying to sound diplomatic while several other officials snickered behind him. Down in the testing area, Captain James unpacked several sets of human armor. Each piece looked like it had been built by someone with too many spare parts and not enough sense. The captain handled them carefully, though, treating each mismatched piece like it was precious technology. "Your armor looks like it was made in a garbage facility," called out Commander Steele of the Steelborn Empire. His own armor was a masterpiece of energy field technology, costing more than most spaceships. "How can you expect to be taken seriously?" Captain James looked up and smiled. "Would you like to help us test it?" The commander paused, surprised by the offer. "Test it? You mean shoot at it?" "Exactly," James replied, setting up a mannequin and fitting it with the human armor. "We believe in practical demonstrations. Your weapons against our armor." "Fair test." The alien officials quickly gathered around Commander Steele, suddenly very interested. The chance to prove their superiority was too good to pass up. "Very well," Commander Steele agreed. "We shall use standard military weapons, increasing in power. First, basic energy rifles, then medium plasma cannons, and finally, our highest-grade particle beams." Ambassador Thomas, watching from the side, nodded. "Sounds perfect. And after each test, we'd like to examine the armor to show you how it works. Or doesn't work, if you prefer," he added with a wink. The first test began. An alien soldier fired an energy rifle at the human armor. Everyone expected it to burn right through. Instead, the strange combination of materials seemed to absorb and scatter the energy. Some layers melted, others cracked, but nothing penetrated to the mannequin beneath. "Interesting," muttered Dr. Green, a human scientist, taking notes. The ceramic layer fractured exactly as planned, and the polymer mesh caught the secondary energy spread, working perfectly. Commander Steele frowned. "Increase power. Use the plasma cannons." The plasma blast hit the armor with incredible force. The observation room filled with gasps as the outer layers of the human armor literally fell apart. But again, the mannequin remained unharmed. "You see," Commander Steele laughed. "Your armor is destroyed. It's in pieces." "Yes," Captain James agreed cheerfully. "That's exactly what it's supposed to do. Each layer fails in a specific way, absorbing and redirecting energy. Would you like to try the particle beam now?" The aliens were no longer laughing. Something wasn't right. Their own energy shields were predictable. They would hold until they failed completely. This human armor was doing something different. "Full power," Commander Steele ordered, his voice showing the first signs of worry. "Show them what real technology can do." The particle beam lit up the chamber like a small sun. When the light faded, the human armor was barely recognizable. Pieces had melted, shattered, or turned to ash. But when they checked the mannequin, "Not even a scorch mark," Dr. Green announced, examining the test dummy. The outer layers sacrificed themselves exactly as designed, creating a chaos field that scattered the particle beam's energy. The room fell silent. Commander Steele stared at his expensive energy shield, then at the pile of destroyed but effective human armor. "But it's not elegant," he protested weakly. "It's not advanced." Captain James picked up another set of the strange armor. "Would anyone else like to try? We brought plenty of test pieces. After all, the best way to understand something is to try to destroy it." The aliens looked at each other nervously. Suddenly, their beautiful energy shields didn't feel quite as impressive. The humans had achieved something remarkable, and they had done it with what looked like spare parts and crazy ideas. The testing chamber was going to be very busy that day. The Galactic Council's main testing facility had never been so crowded. Alien scientists, military leaders, and curious officials packed the observation deck. Today was the official demonstration of both human and alien armor systems, and nobody wanted to miss it. "Let's make this interesting," Commander Steele announced, his energy shield glowing with pride. "We'll test both types of armor against every weapon in our arsenal. Surely that will settle this debate." Dr. Green nodded while adjusting a particularly odd-looking piece of human armor on a test dummy. This version had what appeared to be kitchen tiles mixed with metal plates and some sort of gel packets scattered throughout. "Sounds fair. Should we start with the basics and work our way up?" The first round began with simple laser weapons. The alien energy shields performed perfectly, deflecting the beams in beautiful patterns of light. The human armor, on the other hand, looked like it was falling apart. Pieces cracked, melted, and changed color. "Ha!" shouted an alien official. "Look at that mess." "Yes, look closely," Dr. Green replied calmly. "Notice how each layer reacts differently. The outer ceramic cracks to disperse energy, while the gel packets absorb heat. It's not pretty, but the sensors show no damage reached the inside." The tests continued. Plasma rifles fired their deadly bolts. The alien shields flickered and held firm, until suddenly, they didn't. At a specific power level, each energy shield would completely fail, leaving its wearer exposed. The human armor, though, kept surprising everyone. It got uglier with each hit, with layers peeling off or disintegrating, but it kept protecting what was inside. The aliens couldn't understand how something so crude could work so well. "Time for the heavy weapons," Commander Steele ordered, looking frustrated. "Bring out the quantum disruptors." The quantum disruptor was the pride of alien military technology. It could tear apart matter at the subatomic level. The aliens were sure this would finally prove their superiority. The first shot hit an alien energy shield. For a moment, it held, then collapsed completely, leaving the test dummy beneath completely exposed. The second shot destroyed the dummy instantly. Then came the human armor's turn. The quantum blast hit it with full force. The outer layers simply vanished. The middle layers turned to dust. The inner layers twisted and warped in impossible ways. It looked like total destruction. But when the smoke cleared, the test dummy was still there, scorched and sooty, but intact. "This is impossible," Commander Steele shouted. "How can such primitive technology survive a quantum disruptor?" Captain James stepped forward, picking up a piece of destroyed human armor. "It's actually quite simple. Your energy shields try to stop everything at once with a single system. When that system fails, everything fails. Our armor doesn't try to stop the weapons. It fails in controlled ways, each layer creating chaos that weakens the attack." Dr. Green joined in, holding up a diagram. "See these patterns? Each material fails differently. Ceramics shatter in specific ways. Metals deform. Gels vaporize. Plastics melt. Each failure absorbs energy and creates interference patterns. By the time an attack reaches the inner layers, it's been scattered and weakened by 1,000 tiny failures." The alien scientists crowded around the diagram, their professional curiosity overcoming their skepticism. They had never considered using failure as a defense strategy. "But it's destroyed after each hit," protested an alien general. "Our shields can recharge." "True," Captain James agreed. "Our armor needs to be replaced after taking heavy damage. But it's cheap to make, easy to repair, and most importantly, it keeps working even while it's being destroyed. In battle, surviving the first hit is what matters most." The testing chamber fell quiet as the implications sank in. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting energy shield technology, making it more powerful and efficient. But humans had taken a completely different approach. They had embraced chaos and imperfection, turning them into advantages. As the aliens stared at their beautiful but predictable energy shields, many began to wonder, what other obvious solutions had they missed by focusing too much on perfection? The day's tests weren't over yet, but already the galaxy's understanding of defensive technology had changed forever. The Galactic Council's main conference room had been turned into an impromptu lecture hall. After the shocking demonstrations, everyone wanted to understand how the human armor actually worked. Dr. Green stood at the front, surrounded by floating displays showing diagrams of the ridiculous armor. The problem with perfect systems, she began, picking up a piece of destroyed alien energy shield technology, is that they always fail perfectly too. When they break completely. The alien scientists shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Their elegant energy shields suddenly felt less impressive than they had just days ago. Now look at this, Dr. Green continued, holding up a damaged piece of human armor. See how every layer failed differently. This isn't an accident. It's exactly what we wanted. She pointed to the display screen, which showed slow-motion footage of a weapon blast hitting the human armor. Watch carefully. The outer ceramic layer shatters into exactly 847 pieces. Each piece reflects energy in a different direction. The metal layer behind it melts in an uneven pattern, creating energy distortion. The gel packets vaporize, creating a plasma barrier. The plastic components warp and twist, scattering any remaining energy. An alien scientist raised his hand. But this is chaos. There's no way to predict how it will behave. Exactly. Dr. Green smiled. That's the whole point. Your enemies can't predict it either. They can't calculate exactly how much power they need to break through because every piece of our armor fails in random but useful ways. Captain James stepped forward, carrying a new piece of armor. Think of it like this. If you throw a rock at a window, you know exactly how much force you need to break it. But what if the window was made of hundreds of different materials, each breaking in different ways? How would you calculate that? The alien scientists began muttering among themselves, taking furious notes. This was completely opposite to everything they had been taught about defensive technology. But the maintenance costs. One alien engineer protested. Having to replace armor after every hit is still cheaper than powering energy shields, Dr. Green replied. Our armor is made from common materials. Some pieces are literally recycled trash. We can make new armor anywhere, using almost anything. She walked over to a table covered in various materials. This ceramic tile, from a bathroom wall. This metal plate, part of an old car. These gel packets, modified food preservatives. We turned everyday items into a defense system that can stop quantum weapons. The aliens watched in fascination as Dr. Green grabbed random items from the table and quickly assembled a small piece of armor. It looked messy and unplanned, but after what they'd seen in testing, no one dared laugh anymore. The real breakthrough, Captain James added, was when we stopped trying to make perfect armor. We asked ourselves, what if we made armor that was supposed to break? What if each broken piece helped protect us? Dr. Green nodded. Traditional armor tries to be stronger than the weapon hitting it. Our armor tries to be smarter. It's like a martial art, using the enemy's strength against them by redirecting it in chaotic ways. An alien admiral who had been quietly watching stood up. This changes everything. Our entire approach to ship armor, planetary defenses, even personal protection. We've been doing it wrong for centuries. Not wrong, Dr. Green corrected kindly. Just different. Your energy shields are amazing technology, but sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. She picked up another piece of damaged human armor. Every burn mark, every crack, every melted piece tells us something. We learn from each failure. Each destroyed piece of armor makes the next version better. The room filled with excited discussion as aliens began debating how to combine their advanced technology with human ideas. Some were already sketching designs for hybrid systems, while others were examining common materials with new interest. Dr. Green watched them with satisfaction. Humans had taken their first steps into the galactic community, bringing not high technology, but a simple idea. Sometimes the best way to protect something is to let it break in just the right way. The universe would never look at broken things the same way again. No one expected trouble during a simple scientific conference. The Galactic Council's research station was supposed to be one of the safest places in the sector. That's why everyone was caught off guard when the alarms started blaring. Space pirates. The station's AI announced. Multiple hostile ships detected. Boarding parties have breached levels 3 through 7. The conference room erupted in chaos. Scientists and diplomats scrambled for safety while security teams rushed to defensive positions. Captain James and his human security team quickly donned their mismatched armor, while the alien delegates activated their energy shields. Everyone stay calm. Commander Steele ordered, his perfect energy shield humming to life. Our security systems will handle this. Then the lights went out. EMP blast detected, the AI reported. Shield generators compromised. The aliens watched in horror as their energy shields flickered and died. The pirates had planned well. They knew exactly how to disable the station's advanced defensive systems. Well, Captain James said, checking his ugly but functional armor, looks like we get a real-world test today. The first pirates burst through the door, firing advanced weapons. They paused briefly, confused by the sight of humans in their strange patchwork armor standing calmly while everyone else took cover. What's this? The pirate leader laughed. Plain dress up with garbage. His answer came in the form of return fire from the human security team. The pirates, expecting their targets to be defenseless without shields, were shocked to see their shots being absorbed and scattered by the weird human armor. Dr. Green, wearing her own set of improvised armor, had taken cover behind a desk. Fascinating, she shouted over the chaos. The ceramic plates are fracturing exactly as designed. The energy dispersion is even better than in testing. A pirate fired a high-powered plasma blast directly at Ambassador Thomas. The outer layers of his armor disintegrated spectacularly, spraying fragments everywhere. But the ambassador remained unharmed, protected by the remaining layers. How are they still standing? One pirate yelled. Their armor is falling apart. That's the point. Captain James replied cheerfully, advancing through the barrage of weapon fire. His armor was getting destroyed piece by piece, but he kept moving. It's supposed to fall apart. The pirates, used to dealing with energy shield technology, didn't know how to handle enemies whose armor worked better as it was destroyed. They increased their weapon power, but that only made the human armor fail in more spectacular and effective ways. Commander Steele watched in amazement as the humans, wearing what looked like junk, pushed back against the pirates. Each hit their armor took created chaos, flashes of light, clouds of vaporized gel, scatter patterns of ceramic shards, making it harder for the pirates to aim effectively. Everyone behind us, Captain James ordered, his team forming a protective line. Their deteriorating armor created a constantly changing defensive barrier that the pirates couldn't predict or overcome. The station's security forces finally arrived, trapping the pirates between them and the humans. The fight was over quickly after that. Unbelievable, Commander Steele said later, examining the remains of the human armor. They knew how to disable our shields. They had the perfect plan, except for these humans and their impossible armor. Dr. Green was already collecting pieces of damaged armor, excited by the real combat data. Look at these failure patterns. We never could have simulated this in testing. This is incredible research material. The aliens gathered around, looking at their own useless shield generators, then at the destroyed but effective human armor. The pirates had known exactly how to defeat their perfect technology, but they had no way to plan for armor that used chaos and failure as a defense. Perhaps, Ambassador Thomas suggested, brushing ceramic dust off his shoulder, it's time to discuss a joint defense project. Your energy shield technology combined with our creative approach to armor design. The aliens nodded eagerly. Today had taught them a valuable lesson. Sometimes the best technology isn't the most advanced or the most elegant. Sometimes it's the one that turns its own destruction into a weapon. The pirates had given them the best demonstration possible. Perfection isn't always perfect, and failure isn't always failure. 1 month after the pirate attack, the Galactic Council's main research center was busier than ever. Alien scientists hurried through corridors carrying pieces of human armor, while engineers tested new combinations of materials. The entire galaxy's approach to defensive technology was changing. Dr. Green walked into the main laboratory, carrying a box of what looked like broken kitchen appliances. Several alien scientists watched curiously as she began taking the appliances apart. "Are you really going to make armor from a broken toaster?" asked Professor Bright, one of the leading alien materials experts. "Watch and learn," Dr. Green replied with a smile. She picked up the toaster's heating elements and began weaving them into a complex pattern with some metal strips from an old refrigerator. Across the lab, Captain James was working with a team of alien military engineers. They had spread out dozens of destroyed armor pieces from the pirate attack, studying how each layer had failed. "See this burn pattern?" James pointed to a particularly interesting piece. The ceramic layer shattered in a spiral pattern, while the metal layer beneath it melted in waves. Those two chaos patterns together scattered the plasma bolt completely. The alien engineers nodded eagerly, their previous disdain for primitive technology completely forgotten. They had learned their lesson after watching human armor save lives while their own perfect shields failed. Commander Steele entered the lab, looking different than usual. Instead of his standard energy shield, he wore a prototype of the new hybrid armor system. It combined the aliens' energy field technology with layers of human-style material armor. "How's the testing going?" he asked, adjusting a particularly odd-looking shoulder piece that seemed to be made from recycled spaceship parts. "Better than expected," Captain James replied. "The energy field weakens incoming attacks, and then our chaos layers finish the job. It's the best of both approaches." A young alien scientist raised her hand. "But isn't it still inefficient? The armor gets damaged and needs replacement." "That's exactly what makes it great," Dr. Green interrupted, holding up her newly assembled piece of toaster-based armor. "Look around this lab. Every broken piece teaches us something new. Every failure shows us a better way to fail next time." The lab had become a strange mix of high technology and creative recycling. Alien quantum computers analyzed the behavior of broken ceramic tiles. Advanced scanners studied the energy patterns created by vaporizing gel packets. Distinguished scientists debated the best way to combine bathroom tiles with starship hull fragments. "We've been thinking about armor all wrong," Professor Bright admitted, examining a piece of hybrid armor. "We tried to create perfect protection, but the universe doesn't work that way. Everything breaks eventually. The humans just figured out how to make breaking work for them instead of against them." Commander Steele nodded. "The pirates proved that. They knew exactly how to defeat our shields because our shields always failed the same way. But they couldn't handle armor that created new chaos with every hit." The research center's AI announced the day's test results. The new hybrid armor systems were showing protection levels 300% higher than traditional energy shields alone. More importantly, they were unpredictable. No two pieces failed exactly the same way. "The best part," Dr. Green said, testing the strength of her toaster-based armor piece, "is that we can make this anywhere. Advanced fabrication facilities are great, but you can build effective armor from almost anything if you understand the principles." The aliens were starting to understand. Their quest for technological perfection had led them down a narrow path. Humans, with their willingness to try crazy ideas and learn from failure, had opened up entirely new possibilities. "I never thought I'd say this." Commander Steele laughed, watching Dr. Green successfully test her toaster armor against a laser blast. "But sometimes the most advanced solution is the one that looks the least advanced." The lab continued its work, mixing elegant alien technology with human improvisation. Every failed test, every broken piece, Every strange combination of materials brought them closer to a new understanding of defensive technology. The galaxy was learning an important lesson. True innovation doesn't always come from making things more perfect. Sometimes it comes from finding better ways to be imperfect. 6 months after the first human delegation arrived wearing their ridiculous armor, the Galactic Council's annual Defense Technology Summit looked very different from previous years. The once pristine exhibition hall was filled with strange and wonderful combinations of advanced technology and everyday materials. "Welcome," Ambassador Thomas announced to the gathered crowd, "to the first Hybrid Defense Systems Showcase." The exhibition floor was a testament to how much things had changed. Alien military officers proudly wore armor that combined energy shields with physical layers. Some had incorporated pieces of their own cultural artifacts, creating protection that was both practical and personally meaningful. Captain James walked through the displays, stopping at a particularly interesting booth where an alien engineer was demonstrating a new ship hull design. "See these layers?" the engineer explained excitedly. "Traditional energy shielding on the outside, then layers of ceramics from my homeworld's ancient pottery, reinforced with metals from retired starships. When it fails, it creates a cascade of chaos that disperses almost any weapon energy." Dr. Green was busy at her own booth, surrounded by eager students from across the galaxy. She had set up a build-your-own-armor workshop, teaching others how to see the defensive potential in everyday objects. "Remember," she said, helping the young alien construct armor from recycled space station parts, "the key is to think about how each piece will fail. We're not trying to prevent failure. We're designing the failure itself." Commander Steele, once the biggest critic of human armor, now ran the testing center. He had embraced the new approach completely, even wearing a custom suit that incorporated pieces of his old energy shield generator as physical armor layers. "Hit it again," he called out during a demonstration. The audience watched in amazement as the test armor created beautiful patterns of controlled destruction, each layer failing in a way that protected the layers beneath. "Look at how far we've come," Ambassador Thomas said to a group of officials. "6 months ago, you thought we were crazy. Now the galaxy's most advanced civilizations are learning to make armor from recycled materials." The summit's main event was about to begin. The lights dimmed as Dr. Green took the stage for her keynote speech. "The greatest breakthrough wasn't in the technology," she began, holding up a piece of the original human armor that had caused such a stir. "It was in our thinking. We stopped trying to be perfect. We embraced chaos, failure, and unpredictability. And in doing so, we found strength." She gestured to the exhibition floor, where hundreds of new hybrid designs were on display. "Look around you. Every piece of armor here tells a story. Some are made from ancient artifacts, others from recycled technology. Each one is unique, unpredictable, and effective." Captain James joined her on stage, wearing the latest version of the hybrid armor. It looked strange but beautiful, a mix of glowing energy fields and physical layers that seemed to shift and change as he moved. "The pirates taught us all a valuable lesson," he said. "They could defeat our perfect systems because perfect systems always fail perfectly. But they couldn't defeat armor that turned chaos into protection." The audience nodded in understanding. Many of them had already experienced the benefits of the new technology in real combat situations. The hybrid armors were proving more effective than anyone had expected. As the summit concluded, Ambassador Thomas made one final announcement. "The Galactic Council has officially adopted the hybrid armor standard for all defensive operations. But remember, there is no single right way to build this armor. Each civilization, each individual can create their own version using materials that matter to them." The exhibition hall filled with applause. The galaxy had embraced a new way of thinking about protection. Perfect wasn't always better. Sometimes the best defense was one that looked ridiculous, but worked in ways no one could predict. "So what's next?" Commander Steele asked Dr. Green as they watched people experimenting with different materials at her workshop. She smiled, picking up what looked like a broken kitchen sink. "That's the beauty of it. With this technology, anything could be next. The only limit is our imagination. And somewhere out in space, a group of very confused pirates was still trying to figure out how they had been defeated by armor made from bathroom tiles and broken toasters. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was perfectly imperfect.